Hi coders, this video is going to be very short. This is about something called the for each loop on the AP exam. You're required to be able to read it. You don't actually have to use it if you don't want to, but it is a nice one to use in your code because it's so short and sweet when it comes time to printing out things that are in a list. So here we go. What you see here is I've got an array of names and I have another array list of students. Okay, and student objects are just some quick objects I made here. Every student has a name and age, and you can go get name, set name, and the age is just public. So here we go in our runner. You're going to see how I've used the for each loop. First here, I use it with an array, which is going to be pretty well exactly the same way you use it with any kind of list. So what it looks like is you start with the for word, but instead of doing your regular for loop, what you do is you name the list or the array here. So my array was called names. So you put names there on the other side of the colon. And on the left side of the colon, you put a variable. And this is going to be the variable where you're storing what you pull out as you go through each slot. So this is basically saying go through the array names and pull every item out. And as you pull it out, it's going to be known as string S. And what do I do with S? System out S. Then it goes to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and it keeps going until the list is done, or the array is finished. So this is a very quick way, instead of doing your standard for loop, the for each loop, very nice way just to print out everything in a list. When you see this one run here, it'll be the very top part of my file. And you'll see here it just went through, and it printed out the names. Now you're going to see the same thing work with the array list. Exact same way. So my array list here is called students. It's an array list specified to hold a student type. And so when I go through here, this is just the code for filling it up with some fake students. And then when I get down here, here's my for each loop with the students. So go through the students array list, and each one, when you pull it out, call it student stud. And then do whatever you want with it. I'm going to print out student's name and the student's age. Now, these loops work. You'll see here, it basically did that. Now, this works good. What you have to be careful of when you're using the for each loop, there's one little rule. You're allowed to modify. So here you'll see that as I pull the students out, every student that's pulled out, I tell their age to go up by 1. And yes, the ages are there, and then the ages go up by 1. This works out fine. What you're not allowed to do is you're not allowed to do this here. The way that the for each loop works, it's using something called an iterator, and when it goes to the list, it's basically getting a list of where all the things are in the list, and it just cycles through going forward. The problem is if you try to do something like this, remove an item from the list as you're using this iterator to go through, and that's what the for each loop's using, then what happens is it sort of breaks the chain because you just removed an item and the linkage is all wrecked. So watch what happens here. When I run this one, we should get the red lines. Waiting, waiting, waiting. And there they are right there. So you'll see here when I hit line 44, which is basically the start of this iteration here, this for each loop fails. And the error is pretty descriptive here. It says at Arraylist, runner main, check for commodification. This just has something to do with you've changed the order of the iterator, okay, the underlying list. So that's one rule with the for each loop. You can access information, you can change your object's information, but don't change the list by adding, inserting, or removing an item as you go through. And that's basically your for loop with the for loop rules. Now, if you're interested in a few more details, exactly what's going on here when I've used the word iterator, that's going to be my next video here. You'll see I'm going to talk about what an iterator is and just how to use it, and the equivalent for loop using an iterator. The benefit, if you know these details, is when you actually use the iterator, you can actually remove from the list with no errors taking place. So that'll be the video that follows this one up. That's your for loop. Know how to read it.